You past relationships. Do you understand what love is after you've had your heart broken?
You can say that here.
I don't find it attractive. I'm sorry. Welcome to You Can Say That Here. We have a special guest with us. It is not the chief twit, Elon Musk, but we invite you to come, Elon, because of your great personality and poor moral ethics. But we do have Chris Klukas, who is an esteemed psychologist in the area of all kinds of things. I mean, we were previous guests talking about drug dependency and taking care of family, and today we're talking about what is wrong with us and Kanye West, by the way, because he happens to be the topic du jour. So welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good to be back.
With that crappy invitation. What?
Are we gonna get canceled for talking about him? He's
Kanye?
Yeah.
Well, you can't get canceled anymore on Twitter, can you?
True.
It's probably a good
Maybe
thing.
we'll see. That's the hope. That's the hope anyway.
I got to tell you, this, like, his messages have Elon Musk's messages. He is pretty funny. He's named himself now the chief twit. And then did you see the video of him walking in with a sink in his hand to the Twitter offices?
Yeah.
And he wrote, "Let that sink in." I'm like, he's very punny, this guy.
Yeah. He's good. He's good.
All right. So Chris, you brought up this topic. So I love this topic, kind of what's wrong with us? This is a society where we're perpetually not okay with who we are. And look at Taylor Swift's new song, Antihero, blowing up the charts, right? Then, there's books from Matthew Perry. Then Valerie Bertinelli is on there, like talking about how, she's mortified of things that she did. We can dig into all of that if you'd like. But I think we've got this society here where we're just constantly asking, what's wrong with us? And mental illness is clearly more accepted than it was 20 years ago. But still, what's wrong with just being okay with who we are?
That's interesting. Well, I think just from my point of view, I think just us in general as people have kind of lost our sense of things that we fall back on, like family, friends, loved ones, and we're kind of living outside of ourselves rather than inside of ourselves for the material things or just posts, likes on social media. And we kind of lose sight of what's important in our lives, the people in our lives, but it's what's meaningful. What's meaningful is determined by society, not us. And I see that a lot with a lot of people, and it's just like people are constantly doing TikTok videos and things of that nature, and or they say like you said, that Taylor Swift song. Honestly, I haven't heard it. I'm a little older, obviously. If I came across it, I would probably listen to it. But I'm more of a classic rock guy, and a lot of the stuff that's out now just seems to be like crap. Like who's that little what's his name that you like that dresses funny?
The guy that dresses funny that I like.
He's English. He's dating the
Oh, Harry Styles. I can't believe you remembered that. Yeah, Harry Styles.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I don't listen to his music, but it's just like you can see kind of that pattern of lack of a better term, substance. You know what I mean? You can see he's just trying to be flash, and I get it. All acts have tried to be flash, but it's just like it's the latest thing, and certain people are comparing him to the Beatles.
Well, I'm going to argue with you a little on this, Chris, because I think they're trying so hard to stand for something that it's become standing for something has become commercial.
Exactly, which is it's all phony. So to me, that's just like, what's your character? Is that really your character? Or is that your character today? It's like with Twitter. Yeah, I'm all for freedom of speech. Oh, now Elon Musk is in. Oh, the world's going to end. Well, you didn't have a problem with it if other media giants are have your political opinion. So what's the problem there? You're for freedom of speech, but only if I speak like you.
This is a good point. It's interesting seeing the posts that Elon Musk has put out there already. He said, this is not about the clicks. If you are an advertiser, I challenge you to entertain and connect with your audience. This should not be about the clicks. And then he went on in this statement to say, we need to, what's happening right now is in a mass media, we are appealing to one side or the other because we know that controversy is actually creating clicks for us. Let's appeal to humans instead of a side, because all we're doing by appealing to this one side or another is just dividing the world a little bit more. But I think in Taylor Swift, so let me get you up to speed with 2022, Andrew and Chris. This Taylor Swift's anti-hero is really about, she's the person holding herself back in life. So the whole video goes like her evil twin is there trying to say, hey, you know what? The reason that you're in this place right now is because of you. It's nobody else putting you there. It's nobody else creating your problems for you. The problem is you.
Mm-hmm.
I like the message.
Yeah, and it's true. And hopefully, I've heard really good things about her. I know somebody who was on tour with her, and he said she's one of the nicest people, and very genuine. But getting back to your thing is Elon Musk is talking about having a discussion, and I think that's vital, because we don't have discussions anymore. Everybody, if you say you're a political message, and someone interprets that you're a Republican or a Democrat, or a Republican or Democrat, and then they'll say to you is, they know how you're thinking. No, you don't. For example, look at the debate between Dr. Oz and John Fetterman. After the debate, all the spin doctors were saying, well, he was very brave going up there and doing those things. That's really important, and all of that other stuff. While certain people, say on the other side, the Republicans were saying he's unfit, and it's not unhealthy to say that. Now, me being an independent, I'm looking at it and going, this guy's not right. Don't sell me that he's okay, because he's not. He had a serious brain injury, and you're saying he's able to run for office, and no, he's not.
Are you following that, Andy?
Me.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm going to reserve judgment, because it's possible that his problems are not necessarily cognitive, but with speech. I don't even know really what Fetterman's politics are, except he's got a huge lump on his neck that he's kept hidden for a long time, and I don't know what that is, and it freaked me out. So I don't think I could vote for a guy with a big lump on his neck.
Oh my God.
He looks like Sling Blade. And he's enormous, and I think he might actually be from another planet. So those are all disqualifiers for me, but not necessarily that he can't form a coherent sentence. I mean, the president can't form a coherent sentence either, or the vice president, or like half of Congress. So more than half, I'd say 3/4. So I don't really care.
Here's the thing that bothers me about Fetterman, though, and I agree with you, Andy. If we could just say, hey, it's just his ability it's only speech, then I'd be like, okay, you know what? Then there's some validity to that. But where I kind of lean more on Chris's side on this one is that he's not disclosing his medical condition, and it's been 6 months since his stroke. So 6 months is a long time in stroke speak, that this is probably the best he's going to get. We're not going to see a ton of improvement over the next 6 months. But if you're not going to disclose your medical, like here's somebody who's running for office, I don't know. I feel like, you know what? Maybe your medical records are kind of an important thing in this situation.
Right. And my thing is this is to say, being from an independent point of view, is why do I just want a rubber stamp person in there? I'm not okay with that. That's not okay. You know. And one of the other things that I mentioned that last time I was on the show is in 2017 I had a brain bleed, so it wasn't a stroke, but I know this. That's much less severe than a stroke, and it beat the hell out of me emotionally and beat me down physically. No, and I've had people, when I would see people, they're like, "You look good," and I'm thinking, I'm not okay. I'm seriously not okay. I need to slow things down for me. And if I didn't do that, I could have gotten overwhelmed very easily. Obviously, I have, with work, I was a little slower with certain things. Family, I was more grounded at home. My wife, she's a saint, so she, would, you know, take care of a lot of things that would have stressed me out. Now he's in Congress. He's going for a congressional seat. I mean, that's ridiculous.
He's running for Senate.
Or Senate. I'm sorry, Senate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And that's just, I mean, come on. I just don't want somebody being paraded around like a trophy and just nodding his head. That's not okay.
I look at it a little differently. I don't really recognize, I don't really believe that it's, social problems or cultural problems or economic problems can be solved by people in power. I don't think it's a matter of just electing. If we just had the right people in charge, everything would be okay. I don't believe that's true. So I think in one way, putting the guy that can't think in the Senate might be an advantage for the people, because less things will actually get done. The more people, the ones that can think are not working for us anyway. So what's the point? I mean, you put a guy in there that can't think, and maybe he'll just chill out and be cool. And
You know what we need? We need a great anarchist on the Senate.
at least he's not actively working for our destruction, because he just can't figure it out.
But do you think the people are actually being destructive that are there?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, or create more of a problem.
Yeah. Have you ever known the government to fix anything, Chris?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. It's filled with red tape. Well,
So
yeah.
one good example, and my wife, who is an apologist for the current state of public education. Hang on one second.
Those comments that Andy just made, like, have you ever known the government to fix anything? It's one of those comments, right? That you just, in the back of your mind, you're like, the way he said it, do I really want to get into this fight with him? Do I really want to go down that rabbit hole with him? It's one of those comments that leaves you saying, oh yeah, and just agreeing with him. But there have been things fixed.
So
sure. Thank you for giving us that little nose blowing break. I appreciate it.
Apologize for that. So my wife, who's a typically an apologist for the state of public education, somebody sent out a tweet last week, and it said, on this day in 1979, the Federal Department of Education was created. In the 40 years or 50 years since then, no, I think it was 50 years. In the 50 years since its creation, American public education has gotten worse on every single measurable metric. Do you still think that this is a good idea? And so I'm paraphrasing. It was something like that. And I sent it to her and I said, is this true? And her response was just, afraid so. So, I mean, even with the best of intentions, I think when you try to involve government in these big sweeping social problems, it's problematic. And clearly we're on a track that we can see it now. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. But they're going to keep pushing down that road.
So yeah.
So my point is, not to digress from the conversation, put the guy in there that can't think, and then nothing will get done and we'll all be better. We can at least just be left alone. That's my position.
But then again, it's not that guy. It's the guy behind that guy who forces all of these other issues that come about. Look at our current gas crisis.
Well, Kanye West wants to run for president. That's the rumor. I think he ran once, right, in Chicago, but he got himself on the ballot somehow. But I mean, he's really kind of talking about seriously going after this. This will solve your problem, right, Andy?
Um, Putting someone that can't think in charge. Yeah, I guess that's not really my plan, by the way. I don't really care whether Fetterman gets elected or not. It's all the same shit to me.
Yeah.
So I want
Like,
to talk about Kanye because he's been all over the news, right? Like Ye, as he calls, his net worth has gone from $1 billion to 400 million because of people, kind of ending contracts and disassociating themselves with Kanye West. But you know what? I think he was just on Tucker Carlson, which I had to watch that interview, right? Because this just seems like the craziest thing ever. But he was just on there identifying as Ye.
Yeah, that's what he calls himself now.
Oh, you said disassociating. So
No, Kanye
associate.
West. It's a stupid joke. Let me rewind. Hold on.
Ah! Oh, it was a joke. I'm too
Yeah,
slow at this time of the
Kanye
morning to get
wants
these jokes.
Kanye wants nothing to do with Ye because Ye's opinions are controversial. Kanye is just a
Oh,
rapper that makes billions of dollars.
oh, this is a bipolar joke, which is very inappropriate.
No, it isn't. Put yourself
So,
out there. You're going to be ridiculed. I don't care how sane you seem or insane. It doesn't matter either way. You're going to get. You're in the public sphere. You're fair game.
so let's look at Ye's history. 2016. He had to stop his tour. He was admitted into a hospital for multiple mental breakdowns. 2019, he came out saying he had bipolar disorder. I remember seeing. I've always thought he's been kind of quite the idiot, I guess, for lack of a better term. I just could not connect with him on any level. So therefore, anybody who I can't connect with must be an idiot. But he, I saw this interview with David Letterman. My next guest needs no introduction. And there was something really honest and pure about this interview that was really impressive. And he tells David Letterman, he said, listen, I have bipolar disorder. And they talked about the mental illness, depression, and all of this stuff, because David Letterman suffers from depression. So they're talking about mental illness, and then Kanye or Ye says something. He goes, I choose not to take my medicine because it hampers my creativity. It does this. But what I don't understand is why he goes, I create this music, but kids need to know that this is music created by a madman. This is not music created by somebody who's in a sane state of mind. And I thought that was really kind of an I mean, one, it was so honest, but it was also so, he was so in touch with who he is at that moment in a manic phase.
Well, it's just I find his music to be really derivative and not all that interesting. I'm not hip with the transcendent genius part of it. I guess it's not for me. I don't get it. It's good. I mean, it's better than what I could do, for example, but I'm not really trying to be an artist or a rapper. But it's just a rehash of Chris will appreciate this, a rehash of Jimi Hendrix, no junk, no soul. Or was that Miles Davis? Help me out, Chris.
I
Help
don't
me out.
remember either.
But
I
the old
love
trope of
Miles.
the old trope of no junk, no soul. That might have been Miles Davis.
The interesting thing is with all artists, they a lot of them go to that dark place, and sometimes that dark place, Edgar Allan Poe and all these other artists go to that dark place, and they're very creative, and pain has a lot of creation. And sometimes, whether you add mental illness to it, it creates more of a reflective period, and it speaks to people. But the listener or the person observing the art is really moved by it, but they're at a stable place. The creator of that is really, in a sense, is unhealthy, and their emotions are pouring out, and that's like riding the wave of the ups and the downs. and maybe they might have had a sane thought. With all mental illness, it's very hard for a lot of people to remain stable, like you said, as Kanye said, he didn't take his medication, doesn't always take his medication because it hampers his art. And I could understand that, but that's also a very unhealthy place to live at for him, and just to stay grounded, to be around his family, friends, and loved ones. And I think a lot of people take it for granted that you take your medication, everything's going to be okay. Or number one, but number two is getting on the right medication and maintaining it. And that is part of a very important lesson, because the mood swings, whether it's any mental health issue, can be very severe. Getting out of bed. I mean, I guess Bruce Springsteen wrote in his autobiography about, his mental illness. And there's a lot of other people that, go through those things. You mentioned Valerie Bertinelli. I didn't realize. I know she wrote a book. I didn't read it because I'm a huge Eddie Van Halen fan. And I know that she, Eddie Van Halen had his demons, as great as he was and as creative as he was. And sometimes the expression of your art is your grasp to sanity. And if you're not creating, you all of a sudden become self-destructive.
Well, look at, some of our greatest minds, artists, like Robin Williams. I mean, was there anyone more creative and funnier than Robin Williams on this earth? But he suffered such severe mental illness, and then, but you go down the list, and mental illness is one thing, like you just think about all of these great artists that were kind of go to their dark place, to your point, to create something that we just, I don't know, are we drawn to it because we can't understand it, or it moves us, or Andy brought up the Jung theory, maybe it brings out a side of us that we try to hide.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Artists just look at the world in a different way. And, a lot of what we brand as mental illness, quote unquote, is perspective based. And so, like, Chris, your comment that you got to be on the right medication so you can live in this stable manner. To me, it's a choice as long as you're not actively destroying society or hurting other people around you. I mean, if Ye, who has billions of dollars and people to help him, wants to live his life in this unhinged manner, and people are still paying attention to him, and he's creating what is considered art, then who am I to judge that? Like, let him go do his thing. If it makes him creative, I don't care if he's on his meds or not. He's not trying to blow up buildings or crash planes.
Right.
He definitely has an agenda right now. Yay.
I don't know if he has an agenda. I don't know if he's a character or a caricature, or if it's all fake, if it's all an act, or if it's real. There's something you pointed out, Colleen, like there's something very childlike about him, very earnest. When he speaks, you want to believe he's telling the truth, and he's not trolling you, but he could just be a God level troll, and we would never know.
Let me just say this about medication, because sometimes it's medication, sometimes it's other things. Medication does tend to help if you need it. But there's some people that there's other things that you can do to kind of work through that. And it's not just always take a pill, everything's going to be okay.
No, I'm not saying that's what you said. I don't want
no,
you to
I know. I just want to clarify that. But there are a lot of people that need medication, that get on medication, and it's a slow process, and then they get extremely frustrated. It's not like you take a Tylenol, your headache's gone. Certain times is you have to figure out what exactly works for somebody in along with treatment and other things. Living healthy and not staying off drugs and alcohol, because that's certainly, there's a lot of mental illness with the homeless population that, they don't want help.
Yeah.
Or there's not good enough help out there.
Yeah. I think you bring up an interesting point too. Like when I just look at these artists, I'm sorry, Andy.
No, go ahead.
When I look at these artists, there's so many, look at Hemingway. There's this other big group of artists who medicate to get in that state, So they
Mhm.
medicate to create. So it's alcohol, drugs, but it brings them to a place that they believe they need to be in to free that inner voice.
To open it up, yeah.
Andy, what were you going to say?
Yeah, there was. I wish I could. I'm trying to look it up so I can remember the publication, but fairly recently, a large study was done that determined that most antidepressant pharmaceutical products don't actually treat depression. In fact, their side effects outweigh the benefits. Long-term study. So I don't have the background on that, but I remember reading it and saying, well, nothing will happen with this. But it's interesting because you go back and watch that crazy Tom Cruise interview, where he's talking about how the evil the pharmaceutical industry is, and everybody thought he was nuts. And go back and watch it again.
And people say he was exactly right.
It's like, whoa,
I saw whatever you're talking about.
He was like spouting off all these facts, and he seemed to know what he was talking about, but he was so convinced of what he was saying then, and everybody just thought he was out of his freaking mind. But now go back and watch. It's like, was he crazy, or are we all just crazy? I mean, like I said, if somebody's not hurting somebody else, if they don't want to be on their meds, that's fine. If they like the headspace they get in and it helps. I mean, this is how he makes money, is by being a creative, right? So if being in that headspace maybe seems self-destructive from an outsider perspective, maybe that's where he likes to be. And if he's not blowing up buildings or, hurting his family, then you got to be considerate of the people that you care about. But if this is how you create, and this is how you do your art, and the shit you do when you're feeling sober and sane is garbage and no one likes it, most of the people that are considered artists and the most talented people throughout history all have their demons, and we're fascinated by those demons. They might be literal demons, Colleen. What would Alice say?
It's kind of interesting because like I was listening to a couple different interviews, and I'm like, he has a failure to communicate, right? He just struggles to communicate in a manner that people can receive it. But if you look at some of the messages that he has out there, they're not exactly off. So when you look at, what he's trying to communicate, first of all, I can never condone what he said and how he said it about the Jewish population. However, what his message is the Jewish population is running the arts and media industry, and people are not being fairly treated. And his challenge was, if we take the top 10 performing Black artists, look at their contracts and compare it to the top 10 performing white artists, would there be a disparity? And absolutely. And then he goes on to talk about how handlers, even including his own handlers, are changing. Like he said at one point, he said my ex-wife is a 41-year-old television star, and all they care is about figuring out how to get her backside out in the media more. And he said, is this really who she is? And he talks about how brilliant she is. Why not celebrate how smart she is instead of how big her backside is? And so are they, one of the things that he said, and he feels like he's acting from this place, this, he's following his truth and his Christianity and his spirit. He made this comment, which was like, I was like, oh shit, is that true? 50% of Black deaths. Like there are more Black deaths in the United States than any other race. 50% of them are due to abortion. And he's like, he wants to stop that. That's why he's a pro-life supporter.
Percentage-wise, it's probably true, yes.
Right.
But
I think,
not like total number. But
are his messages totally crazy? No, I think he's got great messages. He said, the media is all over him for buying a house next door to his ex-wife so he could see his kids more. And he said his dad wasn't able to see him growing up, and he loves his dad and has this great relationship and values him. He said, but he didn't get to really know him until he was adult, and he did not want that to happen with his kids. He said, Kim doesn't have a problem with it. My children don't have a problem with it. I want to be part of my children's life. The media has a problem with it because it makes good news. I don't know that his messages are so off, but I think you couple it with how we want to perceive this guy and the stupid ass things he says. And I think the message gets lost in his delivery.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
don't you think that it's I'm sorry, that message, and that's kind of going back to Elon Musk, is that's what he's talking about, having a discussion rather than just sell the product. Can't we have a discussion about, listen, everything any artist, or anybody said is, you're not going to like everything everybody says. Every politician, you're not certainly not going to like everything they say or do, or everything in your life you don't always agree with later on, but he's at least trying to have a discussion, or Elon Musk is, and Kanye is, if that's all you see with, Kim Kardashian is harassed all the time. It's just like he's right. She's more than that, and can't we admire that? We're talking about quality over, selling product, and oftentimes as we as a society are just wanting to, I say, are just interested in, Harry Styles or whatever, and it's just, and sometimes that just turns a lot of people off. We're not going for substance. You're right, he might be a great artist and whatever, but it's not my, let's say, cup of tea. But if he writes something, does something meaningful, and I listen to it, I could be moved, and I would be. But I think that almost so many things that we see now, I almost want to take a shower afterwards, because it's just like, stop selling me this stuff and stop doing this stuff. Perfect example. When I was trying to get on here and having trouble, you know how many Camp Lejeune emails I got and telephone calls I got that, did I work at Camp Lejeune because I can get this money and all this other stuff, because everybody's getting inundated with it. Now, here's a perfect example for me, because all my friends are sick of that too. But it's very meaningful to these people that work there, that they're suffering from cancer or all of these stuff from the water, the poisoning of the water, but everybody's getting inundated because there's this huge lawsuit. And so, is it about money, or is it about the rightful purpose?
Well, is it okay to raise awareness that, the Army knew that this was problematic and continued to
100%
jack shit about
100%.
it? So now average people begin to understand that yet another branch of the government doesn't have the best interests of the people that work for it in mind, But I have so many thoughts on that, but that's a whole other conversation.
And I agree. It's like, did you trust the government before? Why are you going to trust the government now?
Yeah, exactly. We didn't just
same with COVID. All of the regulations, they're telling you they're coming back and taking a step back. But I think a lot of this stuff doesn't allow us to be free thinkers.
Yeah. But can we talk about Kim Kardashian's ass for a minute, Colleen?
Bring it on, baby.
So to me,
I don't find it attractive. I'm sorry.
I am certain Kim Kardashian is so much more than just a woman with a big ass, because there's lots of women with big asses. There's only one Kim Kardashian. That's evidence, right?
True. Good point.
And Kim Kardashian, but I can also see the other side where Kim Kardashian would not be, she'd already be rich because she was born rich, but she would not be the, billionaire or whatever she is now without the big ass. So the big ass has been a significant contributor to her success. So the two things are intertwined, and you can't just say, well, she's, people should like her for other reasons than her big ass. Well, maybe some people do, but most people know of her because of the big ass and the sex tape. That's how she became famous.
But I'm sorry, Colleen, go.
No, I think it was about, Aizen was in 5th grade, I think, when this happened. But Kim Kardashian posted this picture of her on Twitter, completely nude. And so the question came up, like, okay, this is what is this who she has to be to make money? And so we were sitting at the dinner table with Aizen, and I'm like, Aizon, what do you feel about this? Like, how do you feel about this woman posting? And she goes, Mom, she mustn't love herself enough if she thinks that's all she's worth. And certainly that's my influence on a fifth grader, right? That's me saying this is what it is. But what is, she's made millions, billions of dollars, right? What
It's
does this say? Is this how you do it?
Yeah,
It's
I'm not
disgusting.
I'm not going to impose my value judgment on her entrepreneurship. Whatever she chooses to do to make money, as long as it works, then she must be a success. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I think society oftentimes tries to put them in a box, though. You know what I mean? Oh, you're just an ass, if you will. And like Colleen, to your point, is Kanye saying is she's much more than that. And maybe she is, and maybe society doesn't let her be the other aspects of herself.
look at how Dolly Parton dealt with this her whole life,
Hmm.
and there's your role model, right? Dolly Parton built an empire, and she never shied away from the fact that she was attractive to a certain subset of people because she had gigantic cans. She knew that made her look good on television, look good on stage. It made people, at least notice her. And she embraced it. She was always, I mean, Dolly Parton's a genius and is one of the best voices in country music history and is so much more than a big pair of titties. But she always embraced it. She used it for what it was worth and, leaned into it. And that's what Kardashians are doing. They're leaning into it.
I have to say, I love Dolly Parton, and she's been very, very open about there's nothing real on me. You think these boobs are real? No, I am as plastic as can be. Everything has been
Her boobs are
reworked,
real.
tweaked. No, they're not. They're not
She
real.
says it costs a lot of money to look this fake, right? This cheap or something.
Yeah, that's her
They
famous
they may
line.
be fake now, but they started out real. They didn't even have fake boobs in the 50s, did they?
I think you should investigate this, Andy,
All
because
right.
I believe that she didn't hit the stage with big boobs.
Okay.
I think they've grown over the years. But I think that her career skyrocket because she created a caricature of, like everybody knew Dolly Parton for her boobs and her
Right.
music came second, right?
Like,
Well,
oh, Dolly
she was
Parton's
with
going to
it.
be
She was
on Laugh-In tonight, so we got to tune in. Like Dolly Parton's going to
right.
be on Johnny Carson. We got to tune in because we're going to see those big boobs.
Yeah, well, she was with another country singer first, and then she branched out because her talent, she leaned into her talent. I mean, she's a fantastic songwriter, and she hits that soft spot, if you will.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm saying it as like a really positive thing that she made the most out of it and never shied away from it. Like, yeah, this is the reason that I'm appealing. One of the reasons I'm appealing, but hopefully people will hang around long enough to notice these songs and this voice and this talent.
I guess my point is she's smart enough that she knew at that time sex sells and she created an image
Yeah.
so she could create her empire. But I just love her, like her sweetness and her
She's a national
connection
treasure.
with people. She really is.
Yep.
So
Kim
did so
Kardashian
did
may in 20 years maybe we'll be saying Kim Kardashian's a national treasure. I don't know.
well, Marilyn Monroe would always want her shot from behind so that they could see her backside, and then she knew her some of her obviously her assets, and
Yeah.
then the system started trying to take advantage of her, and when she married Joe DiMaggio, it was really interesting. One of the things that Joe DiMaggio said is after they filmed the movie, a movie they said is, well, now you have to go on and do the junkets and stuff, and Joe DiMaggio said, why are you doing that? They're not paying you for that. Now they need to pay you for that.
Right.
So he set up the Marilyn Monroe production company. So every time she did something, it kind of empowered her rather than the system beating her down, which I always thought was really fascinating because that made her a ton of money, but the system still beat her up and spit her out.
Yeah, no doubt. But back to Kanye for a moment. So I think you guys were saying, like, he has some of the stuff he's talking about makes sense. And it's true. Like some of the stuff he's saying does make sense. Where the mistake that he's making, though, is he's generalizing, instead of saying that this person or that person is exploiting this person or that person. He's saying the gay Jews control Hollywood and everything in music. And that's, there's the mistake, because people are not going to hear, they're going to hear the generalization, and there's already like, there's this is a very strange place that we're in, with regard to how things get broadcast and how quickly, and how little critical thinking anybody will do when they hear something. When someone they trust says something, they just say, okay, that's cool. That's my opinion too.
Yeah. Like Harvey Weinstein.
Oof. Wait a minute, like Harvey Weinstein, I lost that.
Harvey Weinstein was the producer that was raping everybody.
Well, I know who he is. I spent a lot of
Oh.
time undoing some of his
Well,
bad deeds.
everybody loved him for a long time, and then all of a sudden, it's just like,
No,
oh,
let me be clear. Nobody loved Harvey Weinstein. I've worked with a lot of people that knew Harvey
or
Weinstein.
feared. I'm sorry,
They
feared him.
feared
Okay.
and loathed him, was more of a, but he was a genius.
Can't separate the two, right?
Right.
You can't separate it. It's just that, take the good with the bad. Bill Cosby, he's one of the people that Ye's talking about. Bill Cosby had some very unpopular amongst the mainstream, whatever the black political movement has been. He said some things that were rather controversial, and was preaching personal responsibility at a time when it was really just him and Jim Brown doing it. And that was counter narrative. So he got ostracized for that. And then of course he date raped a whole bunch of women, and now we throw the baby out with the bathwater, because he was a freaking hilarious comedian and a brilliant television personality. And now he's dead to everybody because he did these horrible things. Harvey Weinstein was a genius.
And then you look at like Woody, oh my God, what's Woody Allen? Yeah, Woody Allen. And you're like, he is somebody who seems oddly, I mean, maybe he has just recently been affected by what happened 20 years ago, right? But even after the whole thing with Mia Farrow and Sun Yi and everything, he still produced movies, and we all went to watch him. And it was just till recently that he's been banned.
Do they still, like, is it these kinky people rise to the top of the art world, or do they become kinky when they get there? I don't know, because it seems like every single one of them has a kink, and most of those kinks are illegal.
Well, look at Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
He's accepted, I guess, in France.
Oh yeah, he's still worshipped here.
We're painting this crazy picture, right? Like, like artistry comes from something broken only. So are there people who are not broken without drug addictions, without mental health problems, who are artists? That there absolutely are, but it is really fascinating how much great illness or some kind of brokenness.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, some of our best experiences, I always say this, some of our best learning lessons come from pain. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You past relationships. Do you understand what love is after you've had your heart broken? Do you appreciate it that much more?
I'm going to tell you, a lot of crazy comes from having a heart broken too. I mean, how many people do you know that have gone off the deep end once their heart has been broken? Is that like, do they not love themselves enough that they don't believe there's something more there?
Or do you, after you realize you've had your heart broken, now your next relationship, what did you learn from that? What did you learn from the other one? And hopefully you don't make the same mistake. To appreciate your friends, family, and loved ones. I always say friends, family, and loved ones, but your partner and things of that nature. I'll say this about my wife, and Colleen, my wife, she's a saint. But obviously, sometimes she helps correct me from making mistakes because of just, I don't want to say my ego, because just being pissed off and things of that nature. But she obviously makes me a better person. I knew that I needed someone like her and she's helpful for me to become who I am, whereas she knows what I need. Sometimes she needs to just let me go play golf and go off. Last weekend I was playing golf with my friends, and then sometimes it's, hey, it's family time. Okay, yeah, and I can lean into that without being, screw that, I'm going to go play golf again, or do something else and whatever. She knows when I need my quiet time, because I come home from work and I got a lot of stuff going on, and the give and take of everything, and I do for her too. So it's a balanced relationship.
So this is what I hear. Let's translate that into Colleen speak. That means every crazy man needs a great wingman to keep them out of trouble and in the straight and narrow. So yay, he lost his wingman.
Yeah,
now he's like off the rails.
And then when that person leaves you, you cut off your ear and then paint a picture.
Van Gogh.
Paint a picture of yourself.
Okay,
what did we learn today? What did we learn today?
Well, hold on. I just want to, I know we have to wrap up, but I just want to, I don't know. I'm a dream killer. Eddie Van Halen, right? You brought it up. So Matthew Perry's got this new book and he struggled with alcoholism. I think it all came to light when he did that Friends reunion, right? He was a hot mess. So he writes his book, Friends, and he's been very open about his addictions and all of this, but he writes his book, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. And so then all of a sudden, Valerie Bertinelli comes out to the Taylor Swift song Antihero and says, haven't you ever done something that you're embarrassed about and feel terrible about? And it turns out in Matthew Perry's book, he says that he makes out with Valerie Bertinelli when Eddie Van Halen is passed out.
She's old enough to be his mother, isn't she?
Probably.
He's probably about, I could say 10, 12 years older, but he probably looked up to her.
So I want to know, how do you feel about Valerie Bertinelli now, Chris?
I don't.
Rich people problems.
I heard
celebrity obsessed rich people problems. Who cares?
I'm gonna go beat up at Matthew Perry. No, listen, it was this kind of a dysfunctional relationship, but they have might I add, their son Eddie and Wolfgang Van Halen is extremely talented.
Yeah, for sure.
And he, if you ever listen to the song "Distance" that he wrote about his father before he was passing, he wrote it for his father. Watch the video or listen to the song. It's beautiful. You know what? The thing I like about Valerie Bertinelli is she's real, and she's trying to find herself, and she's very honest about it, rather than being fake and I don't want to say reinventing herself or putting on a new facade. She's just very honest.
Yeah, she used to be super hot too. Now she looks like me in drag.
Oh, that's awful. You know what though? There is this thing like we do not forgive people as a society. We like dredge up. Like I just saw Bill Clinton said happy birthday to Hillary Clinton. None of our business, right? Like, but he puts it out there on Twitter, happy birthday to this most amazing woman who's changed my life and whatever. And then underneath, I mean, bam, like it was awful. People were horrible. And I'm like, come on, it's her birthday. Why are you going to write that stuff? Why?
The famous tweet that she put out with her picture of her as a child, and it said, happy birthday to this future president. So she tweeted a picture of herself as a child, cute little picture. And she said, happy birthday to this future president. She was destroyed for that. That may have cost her an election. That
not
tweet.
Going to Michigan, and her past stuff cost her the election. But
the fact that no one likes her and they tried to push her over the finish line could also have cost her the election.
I'm going to big admission here, and I know a lot of women feel the same way. If you are a 20th century woman or 21st century woman, whatever, sorry, I didn't vote for her because she took Bill back.
Do you think she would have been more electable if she'd walked away? That's a good question.
I totally think so. She would have been stronger and had more power, but instead, years and years of knowing this man had completely embarrassed you, humiliated you, disrespected you, and you still show up for him. Like,
but she's the one that kept pushing it. How many of the friends and family have died but via suicide?
57.
You know? Yeah, right? There's a lot of stuff going on there, and she was part of it, and you know, being for women's rights. And listen, I'll vote. I don't care who I vote for. I do care who I vote for, male or woman. And I'm surprised that you haven't mentioned Carrie Lake. But you know, I don't forgive the BS with her. You know what I mean? Especially with all the stuff that she went through with Bill, but also is how she attacked some of those women. And then you're saying you're for, you know, strong women, but you attack the women, and all of these women came out against Bill Clinton, but you just kept the machine going. You know, that's, I don't know. That's, I guess, bad karma.
We believe all women except when it's politically inconvenient. And this is why I could care less who I vote for. They're all the same. So this is what I learned today, Chris. Never trust a woman or a government. That's a
And be
joke. It was a
careful of
joke. Colleen's not
Mary.
laughing though. She's looking like she wants to just strangle me.
oh, boys, go back to, thank God you guys have two strong wing
You said
Well,
women.
let me say, you know what? When one of our kids asked us about the election when Trump was going against Hillary, I said, and I didn't vote for either one, and I said to them, and then Jen got on me about this. I go, it's a famous line that Billy Martin said about Reggie Jackson and George Steinbrenner. One's a born liar, the other's a convicted liar. And my son said that to Jen, and she looks at me and she says, "Why would you say that to them?" And I'm like, I can't stand either one of them.
Yeah,
I
that
wish
was the
to.
problem. We didn't have a good choice, but
I'd like to make a public correction, and Colleen was correct. Dolly Parton's boobs were not always massively huge. I only remember her with the massively huge boobs, and I never actually researched her earlier work. So, Colleen, you win a point there. Good for you.
but ding.
And I also wish to retract my statement about never trusting a woman. You can trust a woman. You can't trust women. I'll go that far. Can't trust men
brother.
either. So there you go. Or anything
You
in
have some
between.
trust issues. I think our next episode is about Andy's trust
I
issues.
have a lot of trust issues. I learned something. I heard something really funny yesterday, though. And this is maybe a future topic. The Spanish word for non-binary is either the feminine non-binaria or masculine non-binario. So if you're non-binary in a Spanish-speaking country, you're screwed. You're still a man or a woman.
You know, they're trying to change that in the Spanish language,
Of
that
course they are.
words aren't masculine or feminine.
Yeah, they're
It
good.
came
Good
out
luck
a
with
bunch.
that. Good luck with that.
Argentina. I forget what it is. It's X or something at the end that they're, or an
You need
A
your-
E
you-
that they're putting.
Your Catholics better step up if they still have any influence. I think that's the one place they still do is in the Spanish speaking cultures.
So we started by talking about what's wrong with us. I think we talked
we
about
didn't.
what's wrong with everybody and how some of the stuff that hurts us or that we struggle with kind of is our greatness, right? So Chris, kind of as a public service announcement here, perhaps you can give us all advice on how to love ourselves a little bit more and stop judging each other.
I would say that what works for me, I don't know what's going to work for everybody else, but works for me is tune out some of the outside influences and stop working on outside and start working inside. Spend time with, whether it's your family, and appreciate the relationships that you have. There's people in your life that might not be there as long as you think, and appreciate your relationship with them. One of my best friends just lost his mother, and he thought he'd have more time with her, and it's just kind of a shock to him. It's just, I always spend time with him and some of my other friends, and it's just, he values it that much more. And like I said, I kind of been on this process since 2017 when I had the brain bleed. It's just, I don't want to get involved in other people's BS, and that's just static to me. And if I'm having a conversation or we're having dinner together, I want to spend time talking and finding out who you are. And you can always see the quality of a person when you're talking to them and you ask them about them. Do they ask about you? Are they interested, or are they just moving things along? I want to spend time with people that I can listen and share with. And that means something to me. And spending time with your kids or your children or people in your life, value that. And that is I always think that's the best judge of who you are, rather than, what you're wearing and all the other stuff. Don't get caught up in that nonsense, and you'll probably find you'll be in a better place, and you'll have happiness in your life. So,
Well
Thank
said.
you.
Well
Well
said.
said.
thank you.
Well, I guess
And
we
I'm
said that
also,
here.
yeah, I also would like to make it clear that I'm not advocating for people to go off their meds so they can be more creative. It doesn't always work out.
I think you are advocating for them to get breast implants and butt implants, though.
I don't care about the butt implants. I mean, there's nothing better than the big naturals to me in both cases.
Right on.
Go off the meds and have some wine. Wine is a stimulant at first, and then it becomes a depressant. So
Right.
it's really interesting. At the beginning of the night, everybody's happy. At the end of the night, everybody's sad and miserable
Yeah.
and crying.
I
I
don't.
don't know what parties you go to at your age, but
I know.
I haven't been
Colleen
to
with
one
her-
of those crying parties in a lot of years.
I think, Colleen, I suspect that the parties you go to, there's a lot of crying too, but you can't see because they're all wearing donkey masks and furry costumes and all those, types of things. So
Andy,
it hides
Colleen's
the face.
fancy. She drinks with her pinky out.
Oh, I
With
know.
her $15 glass of wine. Is it?
She probably goes to those parties where they're wearing the little Harlequin masks and it's like an eyes wide shut situation.
Please. We can't see through the tears because we're laughing so hard, my friends.
Right.
Life
true.
is good. Life
Colleen,
is good here in New Jersey.
That's true, though. Colleen, you know what? Laughing is so important, and you're always one to laugh. You're sentimental, and you do a lot of thinking, but you do a lot of laughing, and that's important.
She's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
You
know
ever in
that
a
I'm
conversation with
hilarious, but I
Colleen, she doesn't
appreciate
laugh?
it.
No, she is always laughing. She is actually funny. That's
Yeah.
why I've been doing this for 25 episodes.
Funny looking, funny smelling, funny.
No, you always smell good. You've always smelled good. I don't know about, the funny looking part. That's pretty subjective, but I think smells are much less subjective than looks.
I was telling Andy the other day, I have a good friend who I was out for dinner, but she's an older woman, and she said, Colleen, you're a very beautiful woman, but you are so not photogenic. It is not good. I was like, who are we gonna be when we're 75 and 80? I can't wait. Hopefully we're still laughing.
Yeah, right.
Oh, all right, you guys. Thank you so much for this great conversation and dialogue. Go enjoy the woods and the cabin, and happy Halloween, everyone. Hopefully everybody stays safe.
Chris, looking forward to chatting with you again soon, and you can say that here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
We out.